Do you want to know the number one mistake salon owners, spa owners, and barbers make when they're trying to grow their salon? Well, that's what we're covering on today's show. Salon owners are some of the most amazing people on planet Earth. The only problem is sometimes their hearts are so big and they give so much of themselves to their staff and guests that it creates unintended consequences. Our goal is to change the industry by elevating the way the rest of the world sees salons, spas, and barbershops and give it the credibility that it truly deserves. This is the Salon Owner Evo Revo Show. Today's podcast is brought to you by Salon Scale, allowing you to charge by what you know, not by what you feel. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jason Everett, and with me, as always, is Mr. Doug Campbell. What's going on, Doug?
I'm just hanging out, man. Good day.
Just hanging out, about to talk about salons. Let's get it done. Let's get into it. By the way, if you are on with us and you are a brand new watcher or listener, however you're choosing to be here, do me a favor and comment in the chat and say new. If you're a repeat offender, do me a favor and say repeat in the chat. I'd love to know if you've been hanging out. By the way, we've just crossed over some great numbers on our podcast. We just want to say thank you for listening in and learning with Doug and I over the last. We are actually on episode 89 today. We have been just crushing it. With putting out some great content that helps people learn. We hear people all the time say, Jason and Doug, this was really helpful and it helped me get some clarity on my salon. But I think this topic that we're talking about today, Doug, is like the kiss of death of growth of salons. Because there's this critical point in salon ownership, right? In the salon, as you and I know, Doug, is there's like a lot of like work that happens behind the chair where you're the stylist, then you're the manager, and you're the owner, and you're the investor, and you're the janitor, and you're the chief toilet paper officer, and you're the guy who runs to the supply store or gal who runs the supply. Like you're everything. And then as you grow, you start to get to a point where you're like, hey, I've got enough people on my team. I might be able to get out from behind the chair and maybe actually run the business. But I saw somebody ask a question in our Profitable Salon Owner Facebook group. By the way, if you're not in our Profitable Salon Owner Facebook group, do me a favor and look it up on Facebook, Profitable Salon Owner Facebook group. But somebody asked the question. They said, Jason, what am I supposed to do? If I'm not behind the chair, can you really fill up a full-time schedule, right? And like this question really comes up. And some of you guys that are watching and listening are going to say, that's not me, Jason. I have plenty of things to do. But Doug and I want to talk to you about a concept that's the mistake most people make, because it's not about could you actually be busy without being behind the chair. It's what are you busy with? And that is going to be the theme of today's show, is how are you spending your time? So Doug, let's get into it, because I think this is a worthy discussion, because if you don't do it right, you'll kind of plateau as a salon and you'll just stay there forever.
Yeah, it's a capacity thing. It's like there's only so much that you can physically do. So I think there's this thing that happens whenever people rotate out from behind the chair, that they'll either one think that, okay, now I'm going to have all the time in the world, so I can go sit by the pool and drink margaritas 3 or 4 days out of the week.
That's the goal. Let's all drink margaritas by the pool. Right. Come on.
And yeah, that's nothing against drinking margaritas by pool. Have nothing against that whatsoever. However, that's not going to be the thing that's really going to help your business grow. And I think the other thing of it is people get out from behind the chair and they get themselves so busy doing just busy work, menial tasks. They become the errand person. They become all these fixing.
They become the graphics designer, the assistant for everybody. I guess I'll clean up. I'll sweep up hair because I got nothing to do.
All of my social media. I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be a Canva expert. All these things that. In and of themselves, there's nothing wrong with those things, but that's not what you should be doing. A friend of ours, Dan Martell, has a thing called valuing up, or buying back time. It's a buyback principle. So what's talking about there is like, as you're moving out, you need to figure out, so you're getting that business owner mindset of you're the architect of your business. So you need to say, what pieces do I need to put in place to make this thing run better? Because if I just start taking on these jobs, I'm going to hit that capacity thing. There again, it's like there's only so many clients I could do behind the chair. There's only so many tasks I can do inside of my business. So if you do this buyback principle of who can I hire to do this task, who can I hire to do this task, and you manage those things, then your business can actually go. Then you've got a lot of capacity to grow, because each time that you're one of the things is, say you put something that's a $20 an hour task. So find out who that you could hire to do that $20 an hour task, so that then
Right.
you can do a $40 or $50 an hour task. I think
Right.
that's
You got
where
to buy
people
back
get
your
caught
time
up.
to get more value.
It's not that you buy back time to go sit by the pool. You buy back time to do that higher level task, so that you, as the business owner, CEO of your business, you know the financials of your business, you know the architecture of your business, you know what what your growth looks like down the road, and what you need to put in place to hit those growth things. So it's like, hey, I'd like to be a $2 or $3 million salon. Okay, so what is your growth pattern? Let me see what you've got sketched out for what
Right.
positions you think you're going to need. And I think sometimes people have a vague idea of how many stylists and/or locations they would need, but there's a lot of other positions when you're starting to run a company that size that
Right.
needs to be handled. That needs to not be you. And in the beginning, like you said, in the beginning, you're doing it all. I mean, that's just the
Right.
way that it is with most business in the beginning. But in order for your business to really grow and prosper, you've got to understand how to how to start buying yourself out of those lower level tasks. And I think, it's sometimes you're like, oh, you're too good to do those things. No, it's not the point. You're trying to
Right.
create a bigger, better company, and you're giving people opportunities to grow up. I always love stories where people talk about, I started off in the mailroom, or I started off saying, people that have risen to CEOs of companies that started off at the very bottom of the company, that if somebody had not given them that opportunity, they would have never got there. So I look at, creating opportunities for people. As Mike Michalowicz said, quit stealing jobs from other people.
Yeah, that was
You know,
brutal when he said that.
yeah,
Because
it's like, quit doing things that you can hire other people to do, so you can do what you're supposed to do and let them do what they're
right.
supposed to do.
Right. So there's a couple concepts I want to make sure that you guys get out of this today. And the first one I want to talk about is you got to look at, when you were behind the chair, how much money were you earning behind the chair? My assumption is behind the chair, you were making $60 or $80 an hour or more. Some of you guys are making $100 an hour when you were behind the chair. And if you take a look at the amount of hours you were putting in between your behind the chair time and not, and say, how much was I earning as an overall income before I stepped out behind the chair? So just to keep numbers easy, I want to use a $60 an hour example. And it might be more, it might be less. I just want to talk about this. And before I do this, I want to give one other disclaimer here. I have some people, Doug, who message me sometimes. They're like, I have two people. I'm ready to step out from behind the chair so they can take over everything and I can go sit by the pools and drink margarita, sit by the pool and drink margarita. Like, that's not the right time. You got to make sure that the business can sustain your income without you and still be able to run. You can't just completely peace out, but get to a level where the finances start to work. And if you're confused, get some help, maybe from somebody like us or somebody else, but get some support. Okay, so here's what you want to do. Let's assume you were making $60 an hour. I think that's a good example, Doug, of being able to say I was making $60 an hour behind the chair as a stylist. Okay. Now, a general guiding principle that I want you guys to have here is that if you can replace yourself, meaning get somebody to do the job for half of that value, meaning $30 an hour or less, you need to not be doing that job. Meaning if you can hire a graphics designer for $20 an hour, or you could do it yourself, think about what happened. You just went from making $60 an hour. Would you, like Doug, you would never take a pay hit. If you were making $60 an hour, tomorrow morning, if I said, hey, Doug, I got some graphics work for you, it pays $20 an hour, you'd be like, I think I'm cool, Jason, right?
Right. Thanks.
You wouldn't take that job.
Right.
You wouldn't do that job if I'm like, hey, I know you're doing a job right now that earns 60, but now I'm gonna have you do a job that earns 20. You want to train
and also, and I think one of the things still on that is like, I probably could pull it off, but I couldn't pull it off with someone that's what they do. So I'd rather
even
hire
though you get paid
someone
less money. You wouldn't do it as good as them, probably.
Right. Exactly. It's like, I'd pay them, and that $20 an hour may be a great opportunity for them that they're happy to take. But why would I rob what I could be doing for other people at a higher level? I mean, I think that's the mindset. Sometimes you get caught up in
that's the clutch. That's the mistake, right? That's it right there. By the way, guys, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how else you can use this buyback principle to buy back your time, get more time to do, and what the heck are you supposed to be spending your time on? All when we come back from this break. Stick around.
Hey, HPSA listeners, let me ask you this. Are you tired of not knowing what your hair color is costing you on every appointment and watching it chew up your profit? Well, with Salon Scale, we take the guesswork out for you. Using a mobile app paired with a Bluetooth scale, Salon Scale will tell you exactly what your color is costing you on every bowl mix down to the gram. As you mix, Salon Scale will also digitally store your formulas and track how much product is being used in real time, so you can manage your inventory, cover your expenses, and generate more profit in your salon. Use promo code HPSA10 to get 10% off an annual subscription. Salon Scale, the new standard for mixing color.
Welcome back to the Salon Owner Evolution Revolution podcast. We're talking today about how do you value up your time? If you were behind the chair and you were working and maybe making $60 an hour or greater as your income, what ends up happening a lot of times, the number one mistake that salon owners, barbershop owners, spa owners make is they were part of the service providing team and they leave where they were making, and I'll call it $60, $80, $100 an hour. It doesn't really matter. Let's call it 60 just for easy argument's sake. The general guiding principle about valuing up your time is you were making 60, don't step into a job that only pays 15 or 20 or even $30 an hour. And this is a problem because a lot of people are like, well, wait a second, maybe I'll just get good at Canva so I can do that. Maybe I'll get good at social media. But almost every one of those jobs that we just mentioned, right? Canva, social media, even the receptionist, the front desk, right? You can hire somebody for less than $30 an hour to do that job. And you might think, well, Jason, I don't have enough money because I'm working behind the chair, or I was working behind the chair. Now I'm not. Now I'm not producing that income. So somebody's got to do that job. But if you downgrade yourself, and this is really important, this is not a looking down on, but you downgrade the income that you make to do it, your income for the salon will actually start to slump because you're now doing a low value job. And as Doug said earlier, Mike McCallum said it to us, and it punched me in the face when he said it. Quit stealing jobs from other people that want to work. There are people out there that want to work for 15 bucks an hour, 20 bucks an hour, 25, $30 an hour. They want to work and they want to do that job. And guess what? They probably even do it better than you could because you're doing a job that is at a different rate than what you're at. So Doug, what the hell's a job that now that I've retired from behind the chair and I was making 60, how do I do a job that would earn me 80 or $100 an hour or even $500 an hour? What are some tasks that I can be working on to do that? Because I think that's where salon owners scratch their head and they're like, but I don't know, what are those jobs that earn me more? Where do I spend my time on? And I'd love you to give some examples. I'll give some examples. Let's get it.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things of, the way people start businesses in this industry, especially, is they're very talented as a service provider and don't really understand the business side of it. They know all the catchphrases of the business world, but don't really understand.
Yes,
how that
I know
works.
my P&L statements and my profitability and
Right.
I definitely know my profit percentages, but that's as far as it goes, right?
I think the other thing that's interesting is a mindset deal that, because a lot of people that are in our group, had that mindset of, hey, I came in as a stylist, I'm an artist, numbers really aren't my thing and all that stuff. It's because they're not confident in them. That's all it is. Because it's amazing when you see that confidence level start to come up and they start to say, oh, okay, this is not as big of a lift as I thought. And it actually becomes challenging and actually gets my juices going. And then they really take off. It's like, like, who are you? But yeah, so it's those things like I talk about, becoming the architect of your business. So if I'm getting out from my chair, I need to also do, just to your example, I've got 2 stylists I want to get out. Okay, you're not ready. You don't have enough people working for you yet. So how many people do I need to put in place to generate the revenue to replace me as I pull out? And then
it might be 3 or 4 people. I mean, it might be 3 or 4 people that can all get their income up. Like if they're doing okay, how do you get them to boost up enough so that would replace your income of what you were making?
And so
it's probably not 1 or 2.
Am I training my staff coming up? That job could be worth $100 an hour if you're really creating a training program,
investing into your staff.
Right. When people come in and you elevate them and they grow quickly to replace you behind the chair, that's a level up thing that you could do. I'll say, okay,
so
what do I need to do?
Training your staff, staff and really growing your staff. Right? Like making sure that their income is growing. That's a very high value, more than the $50 or $60 an hour. That's starting to get you into that $100 an hour territory because the hour or 2 that you spend with them will be hundreds of dollars later, correct?
Right. Because when you look at the value to the business, especially over time, it becomes exponential. So investing some time into really getting a training program, a clear thing of moving your people forward. So let's say you've got 3 or 4 people going through your training program and you're upping them and making them move faster, you can do the math and see how big of a difference that makes to your business. So then it's like, now it's growing there. What am I doing about the front desk? Do I need a front desk manager? Do I need an inventory manager? And so then you start saying, okay, now you're becoming, this is another thing where it pays you more to start looking at, where do I need to start plugging people in so that we don't hit these capacity bottlenecks? So I start plugging people in, so I keep the business moving. And it's like, it's like I said, it takes you a little bit of understanding of how you equate the value of those hours spent. Because the thing is, if you can create where income's coming in that doesn't require your physical presence, then you back it up and see how much is this time actually worth. And as I was saying, you keep moving up in those things. And it's like with professionals that you can hire to do different things for you as a company. Sometimes you may be having to do that task for a little while until you find a professional take it over. And each time
let me expand on that, because I think that's what hit for me, just as you were saying it, Doug, is so when you retire from behind the chair, if you're trying to get out from behind it, instead of retiring and going down in task, you need to retire and go up in task. So to your point, if your business needs a CFO, a chief financial officer, to have a CFO on your team might cost you $200,000 a year. I mean, it might. I mean, it might cost 100 grand, 150 grand, 200 grand. Well, if you back that out, that's maybe, $50 or $100 an hour. Well, now we're moving up with what we need to be doing. So if I go, look, how much time can I spend working on the CFO functions, the chief financial officer, where I'm evaluating my finances, making my strategic decisions, setting some budgets, looking at the finances, making sure our budgetary stuff is in order. I didn't say become the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper, again, is a $20 an hour task, right? So don't become the bookkeeper, but look at how can I become the CFO of the company and be the chief strategist, be the chief information officer, be the chief training officer. How do I put myself in that position to say, those are bigger positions that I'm in right now? And if you don't, so this is how I look at it, Doug. If you look at that job, I could never hire somebody like that. I guess I'm going to have to get good at that myself. That's when you want to invest, because you said investing in your staff. My point number 2 would be invest in yourself. Start taking some classes and some workshops and some trainings that you can grow as your own salon knowledge, so that you can upgrade your skill to say, okay, I'm not a CFO yet, but what are the skills I can do there? And again, same thing. Don't be the marketing coordinator that might make $20 an hour, but become the marketing, the CMO, chief marketing officer, to say, what's the strategy and where do we need to be and what platforms do we need to be on? And like, you guide the strategy part and make sure you have somebody to implement for you, right? So Doug said, investing in your team and investing in them. We're saying investing in yourself and make sure you can take on the jobs above you, not jobs behind you, right? Those would be 2 specific areas to invest. Can you think of some other ones, Doug, that would be clutch to replace yourself and trade up in time?
I think it's just in both of those things is how you, because again, when you move above the CFO, the chief marketing officer, and the other people, then how do I manage those people? And I think sometimes people get overwhelmed and go, well, I don't know what all that is, and that just seems like this big nebulous that I don't know. That's why it's important too. And I think this is one of the secrets that that when you see people be successful in business, everything. Because I think an ego thing, people like to say, oh yeah, I've done really well. They don't tell you all the things that the coaches that they had, the organizations that they were part of, all the things that really helped them, the mentors that they have that help them actually develop and help to understand what they don't know. Because even if you went to school and had an MBA, because I'd help them. I've worked with plenty of people that have MBAs, and I'm sorry, I just
Doug, how many MBAs do you have? Because I have exactly
zero.
Yeah,
right. But because the reason they learn things so academic and they don't learning things in the real world, and what's more valuable than any MBA or any doctorate. I've dealt with a few people that have doctorates. God love them, but sometimes I'm like, really, you don't understand some of the basic. It's because they haven't done it. There's a huge difference in doing something and having a theoretical understanding of something. So I think putting yourself around people that are doing it, other people that are doing it and being successful at it, that's, to me, that's been the biggest thing that's made a change in any business I've been a part of. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't get when they see successful people in their community or whatever. I would say 99% of them have connected with some professional organization, have some level of mentors and coaches.
Support. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Because it's very difficult to do it on your own. And that's what I say. Valuing up sometimes is you putting yourself into a different environment so that you can do these. you can't do that. If you're the one running to Sam's and doing all that stuff, which is, I think, one of the things I see most owners fall into when they first start coming out from behind the chair
Busy work.
is they're the gopher. So they go and get it. It's like, that's really a $15 an hour job.
I need to serve my staff, and I need to show them that I'm not above doing these basic tasks. Let me prove to them that I can serve them, which is a problem because you can hire somebody for $15 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever it is, depending on what part of the country you're in, to do that.
It's the martyr syndrome of the, I need to be the martyr. It's like, no, you need to show them, because the thing about it is, especially if you plan on selling your company internally to your people, it's your obligation to make that company as profitable and as sustainable as it can possibly be. And you're doing them a disservice if you're not doing that, because if something happens to you, think about this one. If something happened to you, it's like Danielle Chair that we work with out of Canada. We came with, the title was, it was a hit by a bus plan. So what happens to your salon if you're hit by a bus? It's like, well, if you've done a decent job of putting some of these things in place, the salon goes along fine. But if you have yourself doing vital things inside of your business that you could have hired and put other people in, you're gone. The salon falls completely apart. So I think that just for your team, I know that's a little on the morbid side, but you've got to think
real
about
though.
that.
It's real. It's just a way to play it out. Yeah.
It's not fair to my team for me to be such a vital part of that. If something happens to me, then all their careers just come plummeting down. And so it's like, do I have things in place so that if something happens to me, maybe a hiccup or two, but it would still function well, and no one's going to lose their career that they've been building with you.
So guys, here's I think the biggest point I want you to leave with. And by the way, I hope this podcast has been very helpful. If it has, do me a favor and comment helpful, or comment with what's been the most helpful thing if you're watching on video. I'd love to find out from you. If you're listening on audio, you got to send me a message and say, Jason, today was really helpful. I love when I get those messages from you guys, letting me know that podcast really served you and it was exactly what you needed to hear. Or sometimes we call them love punches, where we smack you in the face with a fist full of love that says, hey, this is time to get your act together. Because if you've been stuck in the busy work, and you have not been buying back your time for tasks that are more expensive to elevate your income up to the next level, then you've really got to get this, right? You've really got to get it. So the number one thing we want to get across to you is, if you replace your time behind the chair with lower value busy work, you are never going to grow your salon. But if you continue to elevate what you're doing and become the chief strategist, the CEO, if you will, the CFO, the CMO, right? All of these different officers inside the company, and you become the person who says, let me look at the org chart. Let me work with the banks. Let me look for another location. Like, Doug, I've been guilty of this one too. Is it like, sometimes when I'm out, like, I feel like it's a waste of my time. Like, we're looking for another building right now, and I'm driving around looking for buildings, but I'm like, wait a second, who else is supposed to do that? That's actually one of the most important things I can do. I can't just tell, like, my assistant, like, go out and look for buildings. Let me know what you come back with. Like, that's something that I need to work on, because I'm going to have to deal with the bank and deal with the financing and deal with all that stuff. That's something that only I can do as the business owner. And I think, again, as you're doing more business owner only tasks, it'll greatly accelerate the value that you bring to the company by doing things that only you can do, and it will help you to elevate your income. And Doug, I just want to say, today, I'm going to bestow upon you your very own MBA. And by the way, this is what it is, okay? It's, you've made millions in business by taking action. That's what it is. Your MBA, you've made millions in business by taking action. Because I know you've made millions of dollars in business, although you don't have an MBA. I've made millions of dollars in business, millions and millions of dollars, both of us. And I think that's what you want. We want you to earn that MBA, right? Not a master's in business from the school. We want to earn you the title of owning businesses that do millions of dollars, right? Millions in business by actually taking action and by application. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. If you want to earn your MBA, do me a favor and say MBA. If you want to earn, if you want to earn MBA by making millions of dollars in business by taking action and by actually being in application phase, do me a favor and say NBA, and we'd love to help you get there. If you guys want more help, shoot me a DM. Let me know. If you want to get some support for your salon, comment support on this video, and we'll see if we can help you and where we can go to get you to your next level so you can value up your time instead of valuing it down. Thanks for being on today. Doug, as always, thanks for being here. Have a great week, guys. See you later.
Later, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Evo Revo podcast. Today's podcast was brought to you by Salon Scale, allowing you to charge by what you know, not by what you feel. Please subscribe, leave us a review, and you can always get more information, including show notes and the video episodes, at evorevopodcast.com.